Terrific. A word that can be used to describe moments or events in someone's life. Birthday parties, family vacations, graduating from school, these are the moments that we look upon as some of the happiest moments of our lives. Terrific isn't a word that's thrown around liberally. Rather, it's saved for big occasions. Birthday parties, vacations, and graduation are things that happen rarely, and are moments of intense emotions. Yet, are moments that we would say are terrific. This is also another valid example of a terrific moment.
じゃあ、あとは止血して。そうだよ。最初だよ。
I mean, what else would you expect from a word that's literally 3/4 of the word terror? But that makes sense, as they have the same root word in Latin. Definition-wise, the word terrific has 3 meanings. Terrific can be used to describe something of great intensity. However, terrific can be used to describe an event that's either good or terror-inducing. This gives the word a unique duality in the English language, and makes it a choice word to describe something that would be both wonderful and terror-inducing. Well, this idea of something being both wonderful and terrifying seems like a weird combination. It's not as unknown as what you first might think. Look at the Abrahamic religions. You can see the idea of a god that's both worthy of your fear, but is comforting. A kinda, this guy is powerful, aren't you glad he's on your side? This still might seem like an odd concept, but don't worry, we still got a lot of video left to go through. The reason I bring up the word terrific is because it's the exact word I would use to describe Made in Abyss. Everything in Made in Abyss is used to enforce a terror that is at the same time wonderful. Made in Abyss understands this concept of joy and terror, and uses this concept to create its story, characters, and world. Each of these concepts helped create Made in Abyss, and caused it to become a staple anime and manga, despite some of its problematic features for Western audiences. Understanding how they use terror and wonder, we can understand what makes Made in Abyss terrific. First, before we can discuss the individual parts of Made in Abyss that contribute to this theme, let's discuss what Made in Abyss is not. Made in Abyss is not a subversive work. This doesn't mean it doesn't subvert your expectations at some parts, but rather, it's not to be ranked with other works that in their nature are subversive works. A subversive work attempts to undermine the existing narrative and stereotypes of particular genres, or they can use subversion for shock value. Movies like Cable Guy and Suicide Squad subvert their genres by introducing counterintuitive themes or subverting stereotypes, and works like Happy Tree Friends and Don't Hug Me use cliches in children's media to intensify the shock of their work. While it might seem like Made in Abyss has a lot of similarity with these two, that's not the case. Made in Abyss doesn't lie to you. From the very beginning, it warns you of the dangers of the Abyss. In fact, for Made in Abyss, it simply cannot be subversive, since it would ruin some of its strongest points, which I'll discuss more about later. With that out of the way, let's begin by looking at its world. While some might describe this world as unique, that's not the best word for it. Rather, I would say the world is unknown. It does this by not following any established fantasy meta. This fantasy meta that most people are probably familiar with was actually established during the Lord of the Rings books. It reinforced elves, orcs, and other mythical creatures that are seen in basically every single fantasy setting, with slight variation. While there are certainly fantastic works that follow this meta, this could not work for Made in Abyss. The beauty of the world in Made in Abyss is that it's truly unknown. While it does use influences from real life and other sources, Made in Abyss avoids the creatures, settings, and systems of the fantasy genre, and instead creates its own. This allows the world to feel unknown for the viewer by stripping them of expectation and familiarity. This is the exact reason Made in Abyss cannot be subversive. Chances are you remember the first Happy Tree Friends episode you ever watched. But do you remember the 5th, 3rd, or 4th? Chances are no, since the first one you watched probably brought a moment of shock along with it. However, after the first one, you began to expect the unexpected. This is an issue with subversive works. While it can be used to create unique plot points and storytelling opportunities, it can oftentimes lead to a situation where you just expect the opposite to happen of what you expect to happen. If elves and orcs existed and made an abyss but acted differently, it would just create a new meta. In fact, the only thing in this show that has an established meta are humans, which in a world of fantasy and danger might just end up being unique in their own way, and give a grounding point for the viewer. Since Made in Abyss is terrific, it cannot be subversive, as in order to drive home the element of wonder and terror, it needs to make sure that no meta is formed, rather it be positive or negative. If it introduced new elements to old creatures like savage elves or friendly orcs, it would just form a new meta. Made in Abyss tries its hardest not to form a new meta. This place looks beautiful? Well, it's actually deadly. This place looks deadly? Well, because it's deadly. That creature looks cute? Well, it's actually harmless. That creature looks deadly? Well, she's actually harmless. We as an audience understand the uncertainty of what to expect next, which is a rare and rarer concept in the modern era, when we have most of the non-submerged land mapped and photographed, and only our oceans are mostly unexplored. This feeling is utilized in games like Subnautica that abuse the innate human fear and fascination with the Earth's only left unexplored location, the ocean. There is another emotion that plays a part when it comes to the unknown, which is curiosity. For some unknown reason, whenever we don't know something, it makes us more curious about it. Having Made in Abyss's world unknown makes the audience even more curious about what the world's like, making it exciting every time the characters dive deeper and deeper. By utilizing this unknown nature, it creates this awe-inspiring setting that inspires both curiosity and fear, for both the characters and the audience. This is the first element that makes Made in Abyss terrific. It's unknown. Terror is built upon the unknown. However, sometimes true terror has to come from that which is known. Made in Abyss is a series without a lot of villains, and I would argue there are two major villains in the anime, even if one ends up being more of a friend than a foe. However, their introduction into the series introduces another element vital to the terrific nature of Made in Abyss: perversion. While this is normally associated with some of the worst anime cliches ever, fight me, this word actually just simply means to corrupt something from its original course. Perversion is any act that accomplishes this. An example of people who perform such acts are religious extremists to their religion, sexual deviants to human sexuality, or viewers who don't subscribe. Both of the two major villains in Made in Abyss embrace this idea in their own way. First, let's take a look at Ozen. Ozen is the first villain since she acted as an obstacle to the main character, even if it's to help them survive. While her method of teaching is arguably necessary, there's no doubt that they are perverse and deviant, as she tells a young girl that she would have left her for dead, tried to kill her, beat up her best friend in front of her, and a lot of other things that would have the CPS knocking on her door. There's no doubt her methods are perverse, and so is her philosophy. There are even subtle hints to it, such as her odd taste in food. Ozen's a deviant through and through, as her perversion has to do with society and their norms, as she greatly varies from the norms of those at the top. This is a great representation for the series, that well beyond this point, there won't be anything that represents civilized society anymore. The duo would have to abandon any sense of normalcy they once knew, especially since the next white whistle they would encounter would make Ozen look like a puppy. Bonedrewd is perhaps one of the most impactful villains of all time. This is with no doubt due to his deviant nature. The entire fanbase seems to have a fascination with Bonedrewd, and is a prime example of how his deviant nature is fascinating and how curious that makes him to the audience. Where Ozen deviated from society, Bonedrewd's perversion runs deeper, as he perverts what it means to be human, and the entire religion of the Abyss. His perversion of norms is so evident that a popular mistranslation seemed totally normal to his character. Bonedrewd's entire philosophy is to conquer the curse of the Abyss by any means necessary, and no matter how inhumane it is. Why? Who the hell knows? Bonedrewd takes the interconnectivity aspect of the religion of the Abyss and uses it as a belief to why he's able to do the most inhumane of things, which originally was supposed to be a comfort for the adventurers of the Abyss. Bonedrewd isn't just a deviant like Ozen, and doesn't represent the end of civilized society. Rather, he represents the end of humanity, as beyond that point, what the party would meet could barely be described as human. So how does Bonedrewd's and Ozen's perversions have any wonderful elements in it? Well, it's less of what they do, but rather the things that they perverse. Bonedrewd is a perversion of ideals, specifically the ideals of exploration, discovery, and religion. Bonedrewd's a prime example of sacrificing individuals for advancement, as he sacrificed children to advance through the abyss. Oftentimes in science, individuals can be lost when the pursuit of knowledge outweighs the value of those individuals to society. While science and advancement are inherently good things, this shows how they can be corrupted if not counteracted with proper morals, and the perversion of scientific goals. At the other end, we have religion. The religion of the abyss is a comforter by unifying the raiders under a single banner, and carrying the idea that those who die are always with you in the abyss. Bonedrewd again perverts this idea by using it to justify him sacrificing others. This is why he still talks as if they were alive, because he truly believes that they are all connected via the abyss. This is just another great example of perversion, as Bonedrewd is a religious extremist, taking what should have been a comfort and using it to commit great evil. Ozen is a very different character from Bonedrewd, which is expected since she actually wished to help the main characters. Ozen doesn't pervert the ideas like Bonedrewd, rather it's the wonderful nature hidden amongst her perversion. Ozen is an ill-tempered, jealous, and irredeemable individual. From her introduction, Ozen comes across as a villain for a good reason. However, she's far from heartless. While her actions are atrocities, she does what she does to help other cave raiders survive, and is willing to go through great lengths to help those who she cares about. What makes her terrific is this contrast. A character that means well but acts irredeemably. That is who Ozen is. What's interesting about both of these characters is they're both white whistles, and are both undoubtedly interconnected with the abyss. Their perversions are great examples of being terrific, as Bonedrewd takes concepts that are wonderful and turns them into terror, showing how these concepts can be easily skewed in one bad direction. And Ozen shows how something terrifying can actually be something wonderful, even if they never lose their terrifying nature. Both the people and the world represent the nature of the abyss. The deeper you go, the more perverse the nature of the abyss becomes, the more unknown it is, and the deadlier and more terrifying it becomes. This is the attraction of the abyss. The deeper you go, the more unworldly it becomes. It's deadly, yet awe-inspiring. Since this is the nature of the abyss, those who fight against it would be those who attempt to conquer it, the raiders, and their culture would be counterintuitive to the abyss. The culture of the abyss mostly focuses around the religion of the abyss, and is counterintuitive to it. The religion of the abyss is all about interconnectivity. The religion and the spiritualism of the abyss is brought up many times by many characters. There is a belief that those lost in the abyss descend to the bottom of the abyss and reach their goal. This serves as a comfort to many adventurers, knowing that those lost will be with them forever despite their location. Yet, the religion is based on the fear of the abyss, and there is no spite to it, rather respect. Ozen points this out, as if the abyss is ever discovered, the religion would die, since it's based around how unknown the abyss is. The big thing about the religion of the abyss is it's a prime example of how something wonderful can come out of something terrifying, and how comfort can only come when there is a struggle. Made in Abyss shows us how something can be wonderful, yet terrifying. Wonderful despite being terrifying, how wonderful things can become terrifying, and how, through terror, you can create wonderful things. This mix of terror and wonder is what makes Made in Abyss the show that it is. Slowly, through the slow descent, the audience is introduced to a world that is terrifying and wonderful. This makes us excited for the next episode, or for the next season, or for the next chapter. Backed with an amazing soundtrack and great animation, this is why Made in Abyss has become a staple amongst the anime community, and will be discussed for years to come. In short, Made in Abyss is terrific. It used elements of wonder and horror with great intense scenes that have some of the happiest moments of all time, and the most terrific moments of all time in all of anime. And that is why Made in Abyss is terrific.